Okay. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call. McKee here, Schultz.
Here.
Bodema is, I believe, on his way. Barringkamp?
Here.
Nichols.
Here.
Please to stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's Councilor Bodema for the record.
Just in time for a solo pledge.
Solo pledge.
Present.
It counts. Alrighty, agenda approval. Does staff have any changes, additions, removes?
And then the commission representatives tonight.
Yep. Okay. Say the last one again. Yeah. The 10. Yeah. We already have a 10. And then I was thinking we would move 10B up to kind of its own thing just prior to open forum so that we can have discussion on the policy before we have open forum and public comment opportunities. So we can just get that set up so that I would make a motion to, is there any other changes besides those ones? Then I would make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Commission representatives don't have Mark, people. We have Lindsay and Michelle for planning and parks and trails. Thank you guys. And then we will have our moved up 10B conversation, which is regarding online city meeting policy, or online city meeting participation policy.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Council. At the last meeting, staff was directed to bring back options, discussion on online city meeting participation. There was several instances where online participants were using it as a platform for non-city business, and some of it included vulgar or offensive references. So really bringing back the topic to council to understand how you want to receive the public input at your meeting, and we did consult with the city attorney along the way and suggested to whatever degree possible be as firm with our guidelines or structure when the meeting is possible. And this is because most of our interruptions or vulgar or profane conduct is related to online participants. There is a requirement for the online participation. That it's not going to be simpler to the online participation only to staff or people on the agenda or agenda items. It's going to be a form to council meeting, but certainly up to your discretion and council has more
I have a question. So with that proposal, would that mean that if somebody is affected by, say, a planning item, they would still be allowed to speak if they weren't present when we got to that part of the agenda, but they wouldn't be able to speak to a non-agenda topic at the very beginning of the meeting?
So I think the feedback from the cleanest way to do it would be to, if you're seeking citizen input, and they are to receive that in writing would be the better way, because the other not knowing who actually is involved in the agenda or not. The concern with having things to a kind of a gatekeeping thing is you don't want to allow some and not others, or the perception of allowing some and not others. So,
But if your question is on, like, I think the example I used when I was going through this with Matt was, let's say, Nate Kearney had a sketch plan for something we needed to present. He came in and, like he has typically wanted to discuss it online. If you had an item like that, you still could use it online, speak online, and present online. But it would be for the comments that we don't know of beforehand, or any comments, I guess.
The open forum, the public comment opportunity, such I think one of us said last week too, if you're going to make that open forum comment, I'd rather it be in person than online. Then we know and the rest being online, being, just like you said, an applicant, we know their name, they can't make it here, and they can comment online. I talked about it a while back, of just no more online whatsoever, just let's do it all, let's do our business here in front of everyone and such, but that may be a little too
Make a
far.
motion.
Well,
Jeremy?
I move that we only allow public comment in person at open forum. And we would allow public comment to be virtual on agenda items.
So for the public comment opportunities,
Yes.
and I guess that after we said that
If there continues to be an issue. Or if the updates to the city system are not effective. We can always further visit this topic in future. I don't want to prevent people from speaking on items that impact them directly because they aren't able to be physically here. Because we regularly have people when there actually is a significant impact to them and they've got kid issues or somebody's out of town, we don't want to prevent those people from getting their voice heard.
But we get that via email now.
Yeah, I won't support that motion, just simply for the fact that we've always been able to take public comment on any issue prior to the meetings via email or phone calls. I would prefer to have any public comment in person based on the history of what's gone on our online comments that have come in over the last year and a half, probably further back than that.
Many inappropriate comments.
Many inappropriate comments, so I understand the convenience for applicants that can't be here for whatever reason, to have that dialogue exchange between council and the applicant or staff, but if the public wants to comment on something, they can come up to that podium and address the full council that way.
I think we should require applicants to do the same then. We shouldn't have a different standard for people proposing changes and people who may have concerns about those changes.
I'll support that if you want to amend that. And
I
make-
think if we did go that route, we might need to give a little bit of grace period. Well, our next meeting's not for a while.
Wasn't the, everything online was a response to COVID, right?
Like having access
Everything went
Yeah.
online
Yeah.
after COVID, yes.
And
Then it
so-
kind of became the norm for cities.
Yeah.
Sure.
Were the comments and the, obviously, like, these all comments?
Nope.
Oh,
They were yelled and inappropriate.
So you would want it to be all, either everybody has to be in person or nobody is.
Or everybody can be remote.
Yeah. I would support that. Everybody has to be in person, and if they want, what about there was another issue of whether people could have their public comments read? They submit a,
Well, they send an email in to staff or to council or
Pizza
myself.
stuff, yeah.
We can make sure to include it at least
in the packet?
in the packet or on the dais for us to read before the meeting. And if they, to the extent we can accommodate, if someone had a email that said I would like this read, I'm sure I could read it, or administrator could read it, or clerk could read it.
Well, once it's submitted to the city, it becomes public record. It doesn't have to be read. I would hate to have somebody write some vulgar and say, I want this to be read in its entirety.
Yeah.
To some extent, right? And
Right.
have somebody from staff or council read it.
Right.
I would support saying all public comments done in person. Any applicant wishes to speak to council be here in person, and go back to how it was before. The only thing we're benefiting from before is that the public can watch us online, and I think that's a good thing that that's out there and recorded. But to the extent they want to have an open dialogue back and forth with council, I think it should be in person.
So then maybe we'll.
If I can ask one question quick, how does that affect us tonight? Are there applicants online?
There are people online that don't.
There's no planning applicants.
Okay.
I know of a few people doing business in town that have heavily relied on being able to be on Zoom. They can't come up or they're out of town during the meeting, so I think that would be a part of there for the applicant. But certainly change the direction, but like, Mr. Sunram, he wasn't able to be here in person.
Yeah.
His wife just got out of surgery and that was something we were able to plan for, so it would have been pretty detrimental to not be able to speak online. So,
But
He
at
was,
time,
he was able to be here though for the following meeting.
for the following meeting, but yeah, I'm just saying that
And he
there are
was-
times where
Right.
it's been.
If there's been times, I agree with that, but he was able to reach out and to council members in person. And we were able to meet them on site.
Oh, definitely, I was
so
saying that first.
I think it
meeting,
just
yeah.
takes more planning and preparation on behalf of whoever the applicant is.
and if they're not able to make it, it can always get pushed to the next meeting.
So can I make a motion?
Yes, I want to add
Yeah,
one comment and then you can.
table still, okay.
Oh, did you make a motion, Jeremy?
I did previously.
I
But there was no
apologize.
second.
My only comment would be that I could support,
Wait, does the motion die?
For lack of second.
Yeah.
probably should.
Because it doesn't go motion, then,
Remake a motion, but if that's okay with you, Chairman.
okay.
Continue your comment.
Just,
Yep. My only thing I'd like to add is that we mark a time in the new year when we have all the new system, the Granicus and everything all up running, that we take time to review policy and see if it's something that we can tweak to allow more public comment online in a way that's not disruptive. And if there isn't a way, then we just continue with that policy, but then we at least look at it once we have the new system and see if we can try to do it right.
why don't we just have one public comment section in the meeting instead of, if somebody has something to say, they can just do it at the beginning and go home, and it can be about any part of the whole meeting.
Well, that's what it used to be.
Yeah.
We could. Sometimes it gets a little tricky, especially with bigger agendas when the conversation's like at 4 hours apart from comment.
Yeah, I mean, we can remember 4 hours.
I would suggest we look at this issue first, and if we want to make further issues or further changes to it, we can that at another meeting.
Clarifying comments, so,
Yeah.
can you provide direction on staff participation, sometimes consultants, sometimes their only availability might be virtual, so would you allow consultants or staff participation virtually or not?
I would say yes, but
And then follow up with, Granicus, we're looking at some additional software, and that would be additional modules that would probably have to be added, whether there's goals for online participation. And for clarification, we would still, when hearing, still be accepting written, we're going to promote any kind of written communication with the city, whether that's emails or letters, but I think we probably want to set a cutoff time, so that we're not speaking on the fly during.
yeah, cutoff time to make sure that it's distributed to everyone. You know, they can still send it, and might be that when we do this, we will make sure it's included. We send it after it's got no problem.
What would you recommend for cutoff time? A day in advance?
Wednesday of the week of the meeting, so the day before the meeting. Usually is what it is, so at by 4 p.m.
Okay.
Wait a minute, Wednesday,
So yesterday, like if it was a Thursday tonight, it would be the Wednesday before, like
except,
the day before.
except people, if because the packets come out on Friday, and if people want a public comment on something in the packet, they wouldn't have received it by
They
Tuesday.
would.
The
Yeah,
following
it'd be
week,
the
the day
following
before the
Wednesday, the day
concert.
before.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
So like for today's.
Get it,
we're gonna
yep.
send it.
Correct.
Sorry, Michelle.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't clear.
So, does that answer your question? Yep. Alright, you wanna make a motion again? Or does someone wanna make a motion?
I will move that we change our policy until, say, June of next year, we'll revisit it, to allow public comment in person for both applicants and the general public.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Can I make a friendly amendment? I want to have this be the policy, and if we say till June of next year, it'll fall off. So we just, right, I don't want to have an automatic
Automatic
expiration
sunset?
clause.
Okay.
I'd just like to have an automatic review.
Revisit?
Yeah, not a, it defaults back to this.
But if it,
Well, we can put it always on the agenda
Yeah.
to review
Yeah.
it at any time.
Yeah.
So we really don't need a date, yeah.
but you could make a,
I'll modify that motion to have a secondary ask to staff to put this on the agenda for next June for being reviewed.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 And now we will go into open forum.
Members of the audience wishing to speak, please approach the podium, state your name and address.
And I do have 2 comment cards here if we want to start off with. Pick one at random. We'll start off with Jill Freeman.
Jill Freeman, 10177 Ironwood Court, Corcoran. My husband and I are both residents. I'm here with our neighbors. And I was concerned and see how we can look at the protection. A couple of days ago, they put stakes out in the backyard to create a walking bike path through the wetlands. And we noticed that ourselves and our neighbor, they come right through our backyard. And we're wondering how we can be part of the discussion of why isn't it closer to the wetlands or in the wetlands like it is to our other neighbors, right to our yard. And we're concerned about safety issues, security issues, that people are coming within 20 feet of our homes. And there's something that can be open to the public and to be part of the bike path and walking path.
Thank you very much. We'll have someone from staff follow up with you, and then we can start diving into some of this. Thank you. Appreciate you coming up. Next one we have is Carmen Matson.
All of a sudden,
I do have some pictures I took from my deck that might be helpful.
Yeah.
Please, I'd love to see that.
I'm a stickler about people having stuff, people giving us stuff, pictures during our meetings. But I always say Corcoran residents can always give us pictures during meetings.
I'll get you a copy.
So thank you. Yeah, this was helpful. I was going to ask that they bring this up.
Very nice.
The stakes are kind of hard to see. I tried to circle them with a pen because they were in pictures, they were on.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you very much. And we'll have someone reach out to you.
There's some,
Hopefully just after the holiday here.
aren't there some rules about like pass in wetland?
If we could get everybody, if y'all could listen, please. If you could all listen to us, we've listened to you guys, so you guys can know what's going on and how we're thinking. Please pay attention,
There's some
respectfully.
there's some rules about pass being in wetlands. Like there's this fine line between, it has to be
Outside the wetlands, sometimes can be in certain instances within the buffer.
it's, yeah,
But it's not cut and dry.
yeah.
Kevin
Okay.
probably knows more than I do about that, but we can have Kevin or someone reach out and start some dialogue on this.
All right. You? Are you the man?
Spoke with yourself again? You bet.
Sounds good. Alrighty, anyone else for open forum? Okay, if not, then we will move on to item 6, which is presentations, recognitions, and we have 6A for Robbie Kotke for 5 years of service. And there we go. So Robbie has been a wonderful addition to the team. His outgoing personality and willingness to help the team have made him an asset. Over the last 5 years, he has stepped up and taken on responsibilities specifically regarding water. He does many of the locates and water testing throughout the city of Corcoran. Robbie is a hard worker, but has a jokester personality that always brings a smile to his colleagues' faces. And kind of been a pseudo-tradition that we've started with when we do our employee recognitions for years of service, that we typically it'll be a looking back at the year they started and some fun facts. This one was 5 years, so 2018, so there was not as many like super exciting, whoa, forgot about that facts. Did have a couple. Highest grossing film that year was Avengers Infinity War. President George H.W. Bush died. Then there was a whole bunch of other depressing ones that I skipped. So it was really bad in 2018 apparently.
Hey, Robbie might like it, he's a jokester.
But then staff actually put together a list of some historical events that took place on October 22nd, which was his first day in 2018. And I picked a couple of my favorites. October 22nd, 1861, the first telegraph line linking the west and east coast was completed.
Dean was on that call.
I was on that call.
He made it.
I still know Morse code.
In 1951, the U.S. performed a nuclear test at Nevada test site.
I was there too.
In 1968, Apollo 7 returned to Earth. In 1979, Walt Disney World in Florida welcomed its 100th millionth guest. And in 2012, Red was the fourth studio album by Taylor Swift that was released in 2012. And it was the Billboard Album of the Year 2012-2013. That is fun fact.
My daughters thank you for including a Taylor Swift fact.
Me too.
job, young man.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Glad to have you.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Hope to have another, we'll have some better material for the 10-year.
Looking forward to it.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robbie.
Okay, on to consent agenda, which consists of items 7A through 7E. I believe staff requested we pull 7A to table. Anyone else want to pull anything? Going once, going twice? Nope. Okay, then I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items 7B through E.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then consent agenda items 7A, I will entertain a motion to table consent agenda item 7A to the next city council meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, on to planning business. Natalie.
Yes, the item is for the commercial industrial district ordinance update. This was identified, adopting a work plan for the state was identified as a priority. And this name is a draft, which is a draft work plan, to basically establish a timeline to work the project.
Perfect. Do you have any thoughts on it?
Well, I basically was just summarizing, so I can make Matt's life easier and just a quick summary. So, in the background, I provided my recollection and me and Michelle's notes recalling what was discussed at the 17th work session. Unfortunately, it's one of the meetings where the audio did not work. So please take a moment to, if you haven't already, just kind of review that to make sure we're on the same page. This is what we're looking to update that. Basically, we're looking at consideration of a height-related transition, evaluating architectural standards, complete review of each use allowed in our commercial, industrial, and mixed-use districts, with a few specific uses outlined in the staff report. And then additionally, after the meeting, staff made a note of the pattern. We're receiving requests to apply our impervious surface limit in these districts on a per flat basis, and we've been making accommodations for that. So having that also be a part of the review, if that's something that we want to work with, relying on a variance. So go ahead.
Can I ask a question? Go back one slide. What were we talking about urban farming?
So there was a desire to continue allowing it, not necessarily preventing it in commercial and industrial districts. So this is something that, you know, wanted to consider options for farming.
Oh, no, I remember the conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question on this slide too? Lumber yards. Would this exclude something like a Menards that has an outdoor lumber yard?
Potentially, but it was, I think it was just something I noted that lumber yards should be removed. So it wasn't,
Yeah.
I think it was part of the discussion, but I think technically, yes, it would remove outdoor storage.
Okay, so I would probably say that should not be removed as a potential use. And then recycling facilities. I'm fine with indoor only recycling facilities, but outdoor ones that compost outside. But I'm also wondering how would that impact the city if the city got into a venture of doing have a compost site of their own. How would that impact it?
Could we allow it in public food zones?
I think we would have to allow that.
But just that?
Yeah, that would limit it to just being a public entity.
We would probably put that in a rural commercial area, wouldn't we? You wouldn't put that in a commercial zone, would you?
Well, it's rural commercial would be the same as commercial, wouldn't it? Commercial, industrial, and mixed-use districts.
Are you talking today?
Well, when I was looking at it, I don't think we specified which ones we meant. Was it only intended to be commercial, like C1, C2, or also rural commercial or transition rural commercial. Do you recall, Natalie? Was that
So my
clear to you?
understanding is it was a complete review of all the uses in C1, C2, rural commercial, industrial, business parks, that'd be one of them as well, and our general mixed use in downtown. Just looking at all the uses in there and seeing if those still made sense, if we wanted to make tweaks, or we wanted to add. So that was part of the review. Transition rural commercial would not be, technically that is a residential district, so I don't think that would make sense.
And then the question about keeping of animals in a business park district. What is our B ordinance? I thought we had allowed these in commercial districts.
I think so. So this is something that's specifically called out in our code for beekeeping. We'd have to see how it affects them. We don't necessarily have to say all or nothing. We could say no keeping of animals other than bees. So I think it's just an idea that we want to explore further. Part of the question is, are we really have to keep an animal?
It's not really, people aren't really asking for that.
Right.
Right.
So
Say
it
definition.
doesn't make sense as part of the question, I
Yeah.
think.
I guess the only thing I would be concerned on is if for some reason a property rezoned and then a project fell through and it stayed in that zoning and they ended up staying farming longer, it would be a very specific situation.
They'd be grandfathered in that case, because they're already in operation, was rezoned.
Well, if they rezoned it, so let's say someone had a business park site they're currently farming on, next year they come in, want to develop it, get the rezoning, deal falls through, they decide they're going to live there another 5 years and farm on that site, still currently zoned, rezoning.
We only have one business park site.
Right, so it's
and
very
they don't
limited.
Have any animals.
Okay.
So
That
I
makes sense.
I totally understand the concern. I think it's worth considering. I don't like rezoning it without knowing what's without it being a part of like a formal application to move forward with other steps. Because of that reason, I don't want to make something that I'm going to use perpetually. But I believe we could theoretically rezone it, and they would still be able to continue the current use. But we could certainly look at that as part of the update, yes.
Just a point of clarification too, if I could. These are insects, not animals.
I think we
Just
addressed
because I do things with bees, so I just
Yeah.
I want to make sure we are.
We don't have an insect.
We're Corcoran. We're a bunch of hick farming group facility or neighborhoods and stuff, but we aren't that goofy yet. Bees are a little different. So
Could we
thanks.
have an insect ordinance to outlaw mosquitoes from?
Yeah, there you go. We'll get with Hennepin County on that.
You
Jeff.
can go for the enforcement mechanism, absolutely.
Yeah, I had no idea how to enforce that.
Lots of
We're
facts.
not going to hire staff for that.
But in terms of this list, I think it summarizes most of what I remember from the previous conversation.
I'm amazed you got that much out of the audio.
No, that's all from my notes that I got from,
Well.
that's between me and Michelle's notes. There was nothing from that. I couldn't
Okay.
handle listening to it more than
Speaking of audio, that should be fixed hopefully by next meeting.
By the next
new
meeting,
system finally.
yes.
So.
It was good for Parks and Trails last week.
Good work, you guys.
Yeah.
The next slide. So at this point, I'm foreseeing 2 stages in this project. The first stage is information gathering and engagement, and projecting this to occur between December this year through February of next year. The process will kick off with the initial planning commission discussion based on what we've already discussed as a group at their upcoming meeting on December 5th. And then I will be working with the planning commission to prepare a survey for business owner and commercial industrial landowner feedback. So the survey will include questions to gauge interest in additional participation components such as house, task force, or panel to see interest in that. We are working for mailed invitations to be sent out by the end of December, and then we anticipate having the survey open for 1 month until the end of January. From there, we would staff will work to summarize the findings from planning commission and the survey to bring to the council meeting in February, the projected date I offered was February 22nd. That they really need more work done. Next slide.
I think commission meeting is on a Tuesday.
It is on a Tuesday. I had a conflict on Thursday, and everyone was gracious enough to
You take my meeting.
Yes, I'll be there Tuesday.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Yes, we did have to change it, so.
I will absolutely do that. That's my day off. You don't owe me nothing. Nope. Just those speed jars will be just fine. That'll be a good training.
The second stage is the ordinance drafting component, and I'm projecting this paper between March 2024 and June 2024. So staff will work to prepare a draft ordinance for initial discussion, and it will be accessible as it's going to council for the first attempt at review at the end of March, offering March 28th as the meeting date. And then from there, scheduling a joint work session in April with planning commission and city council to review the second draft, and it will again, the date I'm operating at this point will be April 25th, and the staff will work to revise the draft as directed for that meeting. And then at that point, if desired, we can review the third draft with the council, again, offering the date of the June 3rd, and holding a public hearing at planning commission June 6th, presented to the council for adoption and status. So this is a very ambitious deadline, but I wanted to build in some wiggle room in case we wanted to add an additional engagement component with the business community, and also being mindful that we have the storage moratorium for new storage and bulk storage, which expires October 12th of 2024. So June 27th, I feel like it's a 7-month best case scenario. If we need to push something back, we want to look at an additional draft, we want to push something back, we have a few months to meet that deadline.
Natalie, can I ask you a question? The moratorium, will we have the opportunity to extend that kind of moratorium before October, or do we want to, it's kind of in here, right? But do we have a conversation about putting storage in as a not allowed, as long as we're doing all this? Do we have storage as a not allowed use in?
That's part of the conversation, yes, and that's why I'm pointing that out as.
You're just pointing it out?
Yeah, I'm just pointing it out as the deadline.
Okay, so that'll be part of that
We're done with
conversation.
this end of June, and
Yeah,
it's a
okay.
non-issue.
Fair enough,
And
okay.
I built in a few extra months to give us some wiggle room. So that's why I feel
I
like
see.
it is a very aggressive timeline, because I have a feeling we might encounter a delay or two, or we might want to look at another draft, we might want to ask for more business community feedback, so we have a couple months to work on that.
Okay.
Yeah, so next slide. In terms of the budget component, the ordinance update is expected to be primarily driven by myself and the planning commission. Some discussion with landlord is anticipated as part of the typical weekly staff meetings, and that's already a part of our projected planning services budget. The ordinance update is expected to take approximately 100 hours of staff time to complete, roughly 14 to 15 hours a month. And at this time, the hard cost that I was able to identify would be $85 for the Millers and the known properties. And so it should be a fairly neutral impact to budget, so I said 85, but it will take some time. And then recommendations to adopt or modify the work plan as desired to direct staff to initiate the ordinance update.
I make a motion to adopt that.
Second.
The whole, I don't know, is this first? Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. On to 9. We have a public hearing for item 9A, and then we'll do that, and then we'll go into a public comment opportunity for those in person for items 9B, C, and D after that. So we will start with, I will go ahead and open the public hearing for item 9A.
Anyone wishing to speak at the hearing, approach the podium, your name and address.
Can I I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 9A itself.
Mayor, so the 2023 annual charter commission meeting, reviewed the city council structure, and at that meeting, the charter commission passed a resolution recommending changing the mayoral term from a 2-year to a 4-year term. So the commission formally requested that the charter amendment adopted in the resolution. They do that draft ordinance, or their resolution is a draft ordinance attached to the agenda. This has been previously discussed, so the first time it is a council.
Make a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, then we will go on to public comment opportunity for those in person for items 9B, 9C, and 9D. Not all at once.
Please close the podium.
Then we'll go into 9B.
So, you recall on November 6th, the city council staff held an interview for the oldest administrative position. From that process, Jason J. Tobin was identified as the first administrative candidate. The selection of council was for Mayor Key and Council Barringham in the negotiations. They were able to negotiate the terms attached here in this contract. So, looking for the council on the employment agreement with Jason Tobin, authorization to enter the agreement on behalf of the city.
Okay, any questions on the agreement? Dean?
Mr. Mayor, just a correction, page
Yeah.
3. Number 16, paragraph 2, 4 lines down, where it says employer that she resigned, we want he resigned. So
That should be a clerical thing that I don't affect.
I was reading and I was extremely pleased with myself that I saw.
I'm really glad.
Sorry, we do read these things, guys, so spend a lot of time.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm pleased with the way things came out. I think we've got a good start with the new administrator. I think it's something that we gotta just stay the course as far as being open and honest with our administrator and such. And I think we got a good group up here that can continue to make this place a great place to live. So
He gave me a call this morning. He was
excited to come.
get started.
Good.
And he wasn't sure if he called me actually just before the meeting as well. I'm not supposed to be there today. No, don't worry about it. But he was willing to make the trip out from Shakopee and
Extremely
probably
high
not enough time.
energy.
He's gonna do it every day. Might as
Well, yeah.
start tonight.
He
but
is,
he didn't need to worry about it.
he's going to be a great resource for us, and I think he'll fit in with the staff and
Yep. No, he's
really
excited.
make things happen.
Excited to get to meet everyone in the community and working on a list of groups and businesses and stuff that he can introduce himself to and let him know shortage of stuff to do to get just kind of caught up on everything that's going on, but we'll get him there. It'll be a busy couple weeks for me at least, for sure.
When is his start?
December 4th.
December 4th.
December 4th.
Will he be in the
Next Monday,
parade?
the following.
Will he be in the parade?
Yes, I believe so. He called and asked if we're doing anything for holiday related, parade, something like that, and I told him the employee recognition thing, something like that. So he happens to be there.
Very quick.
Yeah, I will entertain a motion to approve the attached employment agreement with Jason Tobin and authorize the mayor to enter into the agreement on behalf of the city.
So moved.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
On to 9C.
they're coming back to you tonight. It'll probably be a double team between Kevin and I, and then the HKGI staff are here as well. We're coming to you regarding the master services agreement with HKGI, regarding park development and master park planning. Staff met with the individuals from HKGI, Tim and Gabrielle, and we discussed rates, and they were planning on bringing down from $207 an hour to $185 an hour to be more in line with the highest proposal that was submitted. The idea for budget is that long-range planning fund would cover the park system master planning and federal design development, and then park dedication funds would be utilized for more project-specific type of costs. So tonight, the ask of the council is to consider a motion to approve resolution 2023-97, authorizing approval of entering into the agreement with HKGI, subject to minor edits as approved by the city attorney. But from hearing back from last week, it doesn't sound like there was going to be any adjustments to that as of now.
Oh, thank you very much.
We also have Tim and Gabrielle here tonight. If you have any questions for them, or if you'd like to introduce themselves. Otherwise, that's all.
If you want to, you're more than welcome to. No worries. Sure, that'd be great.
Are you charging us for this?
Yes. So I want Tim to talk, not Gabrielle.
Landscape architect of HKGI. I've been with the firm 14 years and have worked in a lot of communities around here, worked in Union Road, Chico, so anyway, we're really excited for the opportunity. So glad to be here.
Yeah, Tim's also a landscape architect of HKGI for 12 years. A lot of work from the last metro.
Looking forward to it. That to work together on. Got some exciting projects coming up.
Yeah,
So.
we're very excited.
Good deal. Great, thank you so much.
We got a lot to do.
Yeah.
Our goal is better than Shakopee and Maple Grove.
Maple Grove, that might be a challenge, but
It's a decades-long project.
in the end, the end of time.
You're going to be around for a while.
Well, we're a little more minimalist here.
Yes,
Better
different
doesn't
style.
necessarily mean all the glitz and glam.
Exactly.
You guys will be your own.
Exactly. That's a good
Perfect.
answer.
What did he say? What?
We'll be our own community.
Yes.
That's the right answer.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Well, if there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2023-97, authorizing approval of entering into the agreement with HKGI, subject to any minor edits with the city attorney.
So moved.
All that. Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then item 9D. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Likewise. Move out for a minute. And then we go into 9D, which Kevin, I'm assuming you're taking. Go for it.
Thank you, Mayor Council. Before you tonight is an order related to the city center south of us. These generally are on consent, but due to the volume of the change order, we wanted to make sure we're transparent and brought it forward. There's three primary components of this change order. One is basically a wrap-up of the easement negotiations that you're aware of that we went through in the executed agreements. This is kind of the culmination of that. That's outlined for about $69,000. due to the timing of the project, it's a little bit more design build with St. Therese, and there's some fluidity, so just due to them getting some of their utilities in the ground first, we had to make the connection as part of the city project, and so that's that second line item for just under $5,000, really associated with the timing of that. And both of those first two items are developer-funded items, so that they're part of the developer responsibilities of that project. And then the third component, just about under $19,000, when we dialed in our design for the sewer system here, we had a floor drain in the police garage that had a tank that we have to pump and monitor separately. So we reviewed that and we're able to connect that to the Met Council system, so we can eliminate that. So that's an add-on when we got into the details of the underground a little bit more. So that would be ARPA eligible associated with that alternate. So the only city cost is the 18,715.10, and we're recommending that be used as ARPA funds consistent with some of the other work that's being done at City Hall. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Kevin?
Just one. Are we done with negotiations for
Easement?
the easements south of St. Teresa on
We
116?
have one more property. We have
One more still going?
One more still going that we will need to get in place.
Okay.
And that'd be a similar situation to the easement negotiations on this, where it's funded by.
That one is, it's a combination of the
Okay.
two. There are some
Gotcha.
city expenses in that one.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right.
Potentially, depends on how it turns out.
Oh, right. Makes sense.
But we would go over it at the same time. But yeah,
Sounds good. Any other questions? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to, let's see here, approve change order 1 and pay request 1, and I'm making a note of the city expense using the ARPA eligible funds.
if you can dedicate that direction, please.
Yeah, I'll include that in the motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Alrighty, on to new business. We've already done 10B. So we'll have a public comment opportunity for those in person for items 10A, 10C, and 10D.
Any members of the audience wishing to speak on items 10A, C, or D, please approach the podium, state your name and address.
After close.
Oh, okay.
This time, nobody is approaching the podium.
Okay. Let's start with 10A.
Before, I want to thank Matt for filling in. We just signed our new guy up today, so thank you for filling in while we
Yeah.
didn't have a city administrator.
I appreciate
You did a
that.
great job.
We really needed you, and you stepped up, and we really appreciate it.
All the way down the chain to Peter.
Yeah.
All the staff
Even
jumping
JC.
in and doing what you've done the past few months, so.
Yes.
Even,
We appreciate that. I can say every department and every staff member has had to do a little bit extra these last few months, and like I said, I think the team is proud of the work that we do, and I don't think any of us would let it fail, but when people are challenged and you see everyone step up,
Yeah.
there's a lot to appreciate there, and share your appreciation with your staff too.
All the way down and then to the right at the end of the down. Also.
Yep.
Around the corner?
Yes, to the right.
I would like to note, Matt has been phenomenal from a staff perspective, or at least my staff perspective. So,
well, that's not what you said the other day. Just kidding.
on record, he's
Just
been
kidding.
phenomenal.
Sorry to digress.
No,
That was a great
I had that
addition,
on
John.
my notes to say the same thing at some point, so I'm glad you did. But, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, on this subject, on the report, we keep jumping from Three Rivers to Hennepin County to all this stuff. Who are we dealing with on this? Is this Hennepin County?
For 10A,
Are they the same? Yes.
Yes.
this is Hennepin County.
10A is Hennepin County. The reason that Three Rivers keeps getting brought into this so heavily is because they're running pretty parallel. The Three Rivers Diamond Lake Regional Trail that was proposed
Yeah.
has more meandering in its plan. This one is more just the straight shoot on County
Got
Road
it.
116.
Okay,
Did we
thank
have
you.
a public comment? Did we?
Yeah,
Yeah, we
no,
closed
it's
it.
Closed it? Okay, sorry.
But yeah, that separate trails, there's been some conversation about potential future conversations of trying to work them together and maybe combine maybe separate projects, but have them
Yeah.
flow together well.
This is a,
And I have a slideshow if that would.
Oh, yeah.
kind of
Yep.
walk through. So this is for the Hennepin County 2024 regional solicitation. They are looking to acquire federal funding for the County Road 116 bikeway project. It was proposed to us to run from County Road 10 to Territorial Road in Rogers. The following are some considerations that we wanted to bring to light. So like I said, the Three Rivers Park District, we just signed the cooperative agreement as a city, and the trail crossings and intersections would be really good parts that the federal funding might be able to be used for, because where those would cross, it would provide a lot more accessibility to our trail system. Additionally, the linear park area might be a really good area to consider in the areas of St. Therese, the Wright Hennepin substation, as well as following that Southeast District Plan and Design Guidelines. Next slide. And there was a brief conversation about changing the scope. Like I said, it was very brief. It sounds to be kind of an intensive process, but it would help to incorporate the Diamond Lake Regional Trail and potentially change the scope of the federal funding. That being said, it would kind of merge into more of one continuous trail that connects with the Diamond Lake Regional Trail, and there's potential to explore this cost participation as well. With it being a new trail per Hennepin County's cost contribution, it would be 50% the city and 50% the cost of the county following the federal dollars. Additionally, right-of-way acquisition falls under that, and something that we did inquire about was 100% city contribution for general maintenance and repairs. So once a trail gets past that point of general maintenance and repairs, then you'd be looking at the county to replace that at full cost on that. We also discussed extension opportunities with the county, specifically going towards Larkin or even Hackamore Road. With this, they had proposed it to go from, like I said, County Road 10 down to Territorial. We wanted them to potentially explore going down to Hackamore to get to Vera, and by doing that, get the Diamond Lake Regional Trail connection. Additionally, we'd connect to Walcott Glen if it went all the way down to Hackamore, and then it would also connect to the Ravinia neighborhood trails. Then connecting to Maple Grove and so on and so forth. You can see the connections kind of spider out.
And to the
next-
existing older neighborhood, like Allen's neighborhood and stuff, there's trails there that would kind of
Yeah.
connect into that. So, a lot of houses.
We did also discuss with the county regarding support of the resolution, and that it would have check-in points during the project that allow for withdrawal or removal of support prior to financial commitment. So the vision was, there are spots at like the 30% design plans, or before we even start that we can go, okay, now that we're taking a serious look at this and we have more accurate numbers, we know about federal funding, assuming that it gets acquired, what does this actually look like? So it provides a more realistic check-in point.
I would imagine our consultant that we just finalized an agreement with would be able to help with this.
Too bad they didn't say.
Yeah.
They didn't know about this yet.
Yeah, they've got a few years.
they'll need time.
Yeah.
The ask of the council tonight, though, is to consider a motion approving Resolution 2023-98 and contributing the letter of support as part of the Hennepin County's regional solicitation. I will note that many of the considerations that were listed tonight were also included in the staff report and are shown in the letter of support as well as the resolution. However, if there's edits that you'd like to see made to either of those, we certainly can. We wanted them to be kind of a starting point to work off of necessarily. So we're open to any questions, keeping in mind that this is still a pretty vague project.
Looking at the Parks and Trails map in the comp plan, there's a pretty significant north-south trail set east of 116 and west of 116. In the Parks and Trails discussion, I know we talked about linear park potentially being, can we find a synergy between what county wants to do in 116, what the city wants to do for linear park? I would encourage us to also consider, as we're having these initial discussions with them, looking a little bit farther south. Can we get the county to participate in the trail that crosses the open space park in lieu of the 116, 20 feet off of the shoulder idea? If they're willing to do a bikeway that's a little bit farther off of 116, I think it could go a long way toward helping the city achieve its Parks and Trails ambitions, and not have as much redundant trail to plow longer term.
When you say bikeway off of 116, are you talking further off of the road, or are you talking?
I'm talking like a
away?
quarter-mile in from
Okay.
116. But still making the same kinds of connections.
Yeah, I think that's all the type of stuff we'd have to look into over time to see if it's something we wanted to really follow through with. But I think that the draft resolution is well worded, and it lays out that we are supportive of exploring this, and if we're able to kind of craft it with them in a way that works, that we'd be interested in proceeding forward. So I think.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, keep going.
No, that was it.
So 30, 10, 50, and 55 and Oakdale run east-west in our town, and all of them are awful to ride bike on. We have like Trailhaven and Bechtold and Kane and Larkin to a certain degree and Culk. Like, we have a bunch of north-south corridors, but it's really hard to go east-west. And so I imagine you have these conversations with, you're in cahoots with those trail people, right? Can you speak to whether there are some, not cahoots, but collaborate with them? Are there east-west connections so like the whole town can enjoy these
There is an
north-south trails?
east-west Three Rivers Trail that's in the very early days of looking at what it would go kind of right. The early map shows it going kind of right through the center of Corcoran east-west.
Yeah, are there other ones?
It's the only one I'm aware of right now.
Well,
I thought they had one on the top part of it.
the other one,
Lake
that
Independence Regional Trail on County Road 19.
County Road what?
19.
19.
Well, that's north and south.
Oh, that's
That's
north-south?
north-south.
Don't test my geography.
My
think
They had one
question
coming
kind
down to
of,
Elm Creek Preserve.
Could be.
I'm just planting a seed. We need some east-west major places, because it's dangerous to bike on the east-west streets in our town.
And the reason this section was chosen is because they would be doing it as part of their rehabilitation of the road as well.
yeah.
So it was a nice coordinated effort.
Yeah, that's
in terms
good.
of the vision.
Yeah.
The
think
thing that
part of it-
frustrates me is we keep wanting to build these and such, and we've got bike riders that won't even use them. And I'm out on the west side, and I'm on 19, and there's always, I'm gonna say, 9 out of 10 groups that are riding down the road instead of the bike trail. I mean, it's a concern that we're spending money to build these trails, and then the option isn't even there. But to John's point too, a lot of residents along County Road 30 would love roads. Would love a sidewalk, would love a bike trail too. But we aren't doing much east to west. We're going north-south on everything, so.
I think part of the challenge is just the geography of the wetlands.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
Yeah.
not a
it's
lot
hard to
of
find a
paths
path.
through them.
Yeah.
And where there are paths, there's already highway there. So you're kind of stuck with on-road or near-road.
But County Road 30, all the way out is pretty solid ditches. I mean, there's not a lot of wetlands
Yeah.
tight to County Road
And
30 other
I
than
think it's-
tight to 101.
I think 30's
so-
starting to get onto the radar a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just asking since
Yep.
we're talking about trails and Jessica's in the room, gracing us with her presence.
Well, if 30's redeveloped,
coming off the, what was it, the 610 interchange.
Mhm.
I imagine they'll look at those design implications all the way out.
I think it's up to us to drive that conversation.
Yeah, I think so.
And that might be something we want to put as a goal for
Impact tonight.
2024 is what do we want before that highway extension happens?
Mhm. Which is soon. But I've been having those conversations with Kevin Anderson and with anyone at the state and county that will not even listen, I'll just tell them. I've been shouting this one out for a while, so 'cause I know it's gonna be a problem when it does connect there with the road as is, so. But yeah, I think to your point, Jeremy, we do need to maybe do some thinking on that so we have something to point to and say, this is what we'd like to do, how can we implement that? But again, that may be another conversation, but it's a good related point to bring up to start thinking about. In terms of the resolution, the draft resolution, does anyone have anything they'd like to change in it, add or move, edit?
I don't. Make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Dean?
Do we have plans or conversations started in Public Works to do the maintenance on these trails 5-6 years out when they get built or sooner? I mean, is that,
We approved a policy on it 2 meetings
We're
ago.
in those
I'm aware we approved it, this is another one of those things.
I mean, I think we're preparing for that.
Okay,
I think it's very important to know how much time it takes to plow a trail. You know, it's
Yeah.
almost the same as a road. I mean, it's probably more time consuming than a trail rather
Yep.
than a road. So it's just every trail we build, just keep in mind the context of how many labor hours it takes to do that. And the current Hennepin County policy is that we have to plow it during the winter, right? The Three Rivers Trail is optional for plowing, but the Hennepin County one's which I think we're trending towards, but just keep in mind it is a commitment when you do trails. Trails are a commitment from a resource standpoint. So.
just wanted to make sure you guys got that going, and it is a big deal, and then when do they plow it? Obviously, hope this is far enough off the road so that when they're plowing the county road and we go to plow the trail, they don't plow the county road again. So it just a lot of monkey business, so.
Is there any chance we could have we kind of joked about this a few meetings ago. People who enjoy plowing, who could volunteer, be trained, and use the equipment properly to keep those trails clear in the winter? Almost like what we do with police reserve. They're trained, they're
So there'd
equipped
be
well.
some liability. But
It's like trail groomers for those,
Private clubs and stuff,
probably
Yeah.
that would be done.
I think what we'd like to do in that scenario is if we have people that are interested and have the capacity, we currently have
You would hire them?
part-time winter seasonals
Yeah.
that are dedicated to
Yeah.
plowing or small equipment, and I think we'd like to train them, bring them under our umbrella if we're gonna do that versus
Makes sense.
volunteers. But if you guys hear of people, it's always a challenge to find people willing to get up and go do that. So I think we'd wanna try to bring them in-house, train them properly, have them fall under umbrella versus volunteerism, but
Well, maybe it's
I'm always open to ideas, but I think we trend that way.
Tom Anderson would love to plow trails all winter long. He told me.
With a smile on his face.
So I think the good part of this is that we've engaged some staff that we haven't maybe been connected to, and so an outcome of this regardless is we're gonna be more synchronized with Hennepin County. We can take all this feedback back. I think we're in alignment with what we expected you guys to say, which is good. We know we have county road 30 as an issue. To your point, I think that'll be future conversation. So, I mean, I think a takeaway is that we're communicating now with Hennepin County. They simply selected it because it's the next county road in Corcoran that they're planning to redo. That was their basis for it. And they wanted to try to take advantage of an opportunity. There's no guarantee we even get this grant. They don't know how it would apply. There's probably a lot of other competing interests. So it was this
as much of a trial to see how effective and where we score on this type of application. So it's really, and it's being driven by the county, we're reacting to that, so we're doing our best to give them feedback. I think we're preserving our protections where we're not committing to something that really is limited to no design at this point. But if we were to be successful, then we can get real serious about what it is and make a decision on whether we're in or out at a future time. So I think that's why that's how we got here. Okay.
Sorry, I distracted everybody, but
No.
we had a motion and a second.
Yep, motion and a second, and that was the discussion, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, on to 10C.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So the police department received notice from Officer Clay Decker that he's intending to separate employment with the city of Corcoran. Clay is also our canine handler for Zeke. So what we're looking at tonight is consideration of a request from Clay that Zeke be retired. For context, I'm looking at Zeke's service for the city. He was born in 2016. The city purchased him in 2018. He is now with his Officer Decker's his second handler. So coming up on 7.5 years of age. I guess the options, but try to a little more information. Clay did take him in for his annual exam. He is otherwise healthy. He had his lyme exposure just to monitor for some symptoms. He did consult with the canine trainer, Mark McDonough, so we used to train our canines, both with the initial training with Zeke and then with his retraining with Clay as the second handler. And as we look at where Zeke is at in his career or his career and lifespan, as soon as if the city were to elect to retrain Zeke, the next session would be March of next year.
If we have someone.
Yeah, if we were to retrain Zeke with a different handler, which would be 8 years old. He's been with the typical service age for canine is usually 8 to 10 years, typically. So if the city did elect to retrain, he would be trained with his third handler, so he's probably about 8.5 years small. Likely a small window of service life, now it's going to be health-dependent, and dependent on a number of factors. But the canine class is pretty intense training. Typically would be roughly 10 weeks of delivery training. That would be an intense training for the handler. That would probably come into factors of those interested if they were going to go for intense delivery training for only a year and a half of service, depending on how long you're going. So, as we,
Sorry, may I ask a question?
Sure.
The retraining at age 8 to 8.5, is there any significant possibility that he might be injured going through it again at that level?
I think it's impossible to predict. Obviously, aging affects everybody in every age.
I feel like can you guarantee every Timberwolf won't get hurt in preseason?
Clearly not.
Yeah.
I would imagine, though, that it becomes more difficult on the dog with each officer it's trained with, right? You train with the first one, you get used to their mannerisms and how they work together, and then if you train with the second one, they have to literally retrain the dog and hope that it doesn't maintain any, I don't want to say bad habits, but connection with the old trainer handler, because they're obviously different people. And now you put a third person in the mix. I've got to imagine it's more confusing for the dog over its life.
Especially older.
So as we talked briefly a little bit about that, I think the retraining is really both the handler and the dog with each other. That happens on both parts of retraining. And as talking through it with John, he said it probably would be the best investment. We're going to invest in staff time. It's a little bit longer training with the new dog, where your staff first, but you would hopefully get 6 years instead of 1 year with that time investment with the staff first.
if we did this, we would have a staff person learn Zeke. Zeke learned that one, and then Zeke would retire, and then we'd have that staff person have to go back to class again if we chose to do another job.
So eventually, yes.
And again, we aren't doing this because of whatever Clay is doing. I asked, it's time to start looking at Clay because, or not Clay, it's time to start looking at Zeke because he was 7.5 years, and what are we going to do in the future? So I want to make sure everybody knows this isn't because of what decisions and stuff Clay has done. I was concerned about Officer Zeke. So
It was something that was coming up
yep.
eventually.
I wanted to start talking about it. I think he's been a great officer for us and such, and he's done a lot for us. And thanks for the information in our report on everything that he's done and everything he's been a part of. That's another thing we asked for. So appreciate all of that stuff. And this is a secondary thing with what Clay is doing and such, and I respect it very, very much. So.
And there is potentially grant money for state money for the city council to do that. But given where he is adding in his career, it will led to Officer Dagger's request for the city to retire. One of the future options for these to hold. And Officer Dagger is here tonight. Any questions?
Have any existing officers stepped up and say, I'm interested?
We have not put that opportunity out to them, so
okay.
I haven't been approached by any of them.
Unofficially even?
Unofficially, I have not had those conversations, but I've been a little preoccupied with my time.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
Are those the types of conversations you guys have in succession planning, manual reviews? What are you looking for in the future career here in Corcoran?
Yeah, I think that's kind of multifaceted, so we try and develop people with training plans. We know that there are people that have an interest in potentially being a canine handler, if they're even not sure. We're trying to encourage them to train if they're a canine handler or a canine handler, so they know that they can look for training opportunities to develop themselves. So we do seek those out in legal training plans. For some, it can be a huge draw, whether a department does or doesn't have a canine. But it is a lot of work, so there is also a tendency for some people that it's not. So I don't know if our current staff or anybody else that has an interview or not.
So if the Zeke has 1.5 years left, it could be a test trial. Talk about somebody said, I want to try this. Might be an opportunity for them to see if they like doing canines, knowing that their commitment is only a year and a half. I think the training is more for the officer at this stage than the teacher. I have a dog. It's not like they have to train and my dog is handle the training themselves. The dog does this training and stuff. Actually, have to train the dog. It's not a good analogy. Just in my opinion, the officer.
In your conversations, Matt, how many other canines have had multiple handlers over their career? If you ask that question, if you don't, you might not know.
So it's not common, but it's not uncommon. So we had a discussion last time about whether it should be reassigned to a handler. Had in-depth conversations with the gentleman about that. And so that dogs can be retrained, and it really depends on, again, looking at where they're at in their career, the type of investment they're going to do in the organization with that person. So it's not impossible, but it's also not very common.
Especially this late, I'm not going to say this late in his career, but at this time of his career and where it's at and stuff. So.
Mask Clay, or you a question? Are you going to be a canine in your new position?
If people might concern.
Okay.
I asked Matt to ask the chief of the park if we could use the dog.
Yeah.
So it could continue its useful life. You might want to comment on that. It's not like they weren't.
Correct. If there were people not working for them.
Can I ask, Clay, you want to come up and talk?
Yeah.
And I spent an evening right along with Clay and Zeke, and I never had so much knowledge, fun, everything. I truly thank you and such, and knowing your father and stuff, he'd be extremely proud of you. So, it is unbelievable what that officer has been able to do, and what Clay did, picking him up as the second handler and stuff. That's something I wanted to say.
I appreciate that. Here, and obviously, no matter what, but launch, I guess, that can launch, more so than I did probably, certain aspects, but I just want to say it. Being here is kind of a decision, I've been almost 5 years now in total. I love this community, I grew up here, and I love this department. I'm desired from the community, so I have a personal mission, my vision, big decision, will ever be in my own. Obviously, I've been very fortunate to have the opportunity to handle these, and yeah, definitely learning to handle a lot of it. Days, kind of timeline, a lot of
I'll ask a hard question, if I may.
yeah.
If you were coming in after you to take over Zeke for 1.5 years, how would you feel? And that's asking a lot to put your emotions aside. You think as a new officer, taking Zeke over at his age.
I think we have great officers here. I was in the same spot anyone else could have been in, so I was going to say no. To be able to do it. Could make it work. Go ahead and see. I'm kind of biased.
Yep.
But I guess, yeah, I'm 8 years old. I mean, people at the same time. If he hits a 10-year mark or older, I don't know.
Again, trying to set emotions aside, would it be fair to Zeke to retire? No, in your mind, I'm just asking.
Would be fair for him to retire now. Yeah. I think so. Good mission. Just hit it up a lot of stuff. Not only with the prior
As an animal lover, as John, I've got a trained new puppy, and I'll be darned if I would give it up, but she's only 2.5. And, she does a lot now, but what he's done and those kind of things, I would not have an issue of accepting Zeke's retirement timeline. I would not. I think it would be best in my mind, in what I know.
So can I may I speak to, since you're standing there?
Yeah.
So I've known Clay for the whole time I've lived in Corcoran. I want to say I know him since he was a kid, but I don't know when kid starts and adult ends. I will tell a funny story. One day I got, you know what's coming? No. One day I got home from work, and my wife came and said, the pigs are out. I'm like, son of a bitch. So I got on my four-wheeler and I couldn't find him. And like an hour later, Clay pulls up with his truck and all my pigs were in his horse trailer. So I owe him. Personally, I think I gave you some bacon and pork.
I think you did.
Yeah. He is a fantastic guy. And I was so glad when we hired you. You made our police department better. You made our community better. You made and impacted everyone in such a positive way. I am disappointed selfishly that you're leaving. I'm not disappointed in you. I think, just like everybody else that works for the city, not everyone's dream is to work for the town I live in, and we can't fulfill everybody's dream. We're a small town. We don't have everything. I'm really happy for you, and I'm proud of what you've done here, and I'm proud that you're a person from my neighborhood doing good things. So in saying that, I feel like I don't consider it our role to be able to give away city assets, including a useful dog at this point. Just like I wouldn't be able to give away a police car or a road grader. And part of that is just our role as stewards of resources, but there's so many people invested in Clay, in the whole community when we got the canine, and it's a big deal. We asked for donations to bring the canine program here, and there's a continual flow of donations for the canine program in Corcoran. And so what makes it even more, like if we gave away a road grader, there's no personal commitment and tied to the community. They didn't have a specific road grader fund that people gave to. The dog is connected to the town and is a town asset. And I almost think of it as an opportunity to give a new canine handler a chance to see in a short-term basis if they themselves are interested in continuing the canine tradition in our town. And then if it doesn't work out, then we retire Zeke at the age, like we have 20% of his lifespan left, in my opinion. And so that's a pretty big number. Well, I'm almost done. Okay. And then let's have a conversation. Yeah. It wouldn't crush me to have you guys outvote me. But as it stands now, the way I think about it, I love you so much, I would just love to give you that dog. I don't think it's my place to do it. I don't think I can do that.
I totally understand what you're saying. And this is the problem with canine is, right? It's looked at as an asset, but it's also looked at as an animal. Yeah. What do you do? I get your point about letting another officer try it. But what happens if we train another officer 6 months and they say, this really isn't for me? Yeah. Now what do we do? What do we do a year and a half from now when if we have to retire the dog, or if that dog gets injured and not to the point where we have to have the dog put down? What do we do with the dog? Where does it go? Or what if we don't have a handler for another? What if we don't have another handler for another year? But that's the biggest. I think the canine program is a great program. Yeah. It solves a lot of crime, does a lot of good in the community. But But to me, in the current work environment, it's a hard thing to do when you have a hard time retaining officers. Right? To me, it'd be great if you could bring a canine on board and the officer stays well beyond the service years of the canine. The canine can retire and the officer still stays employed, maybe takes on another canine.
Yeah.
It's in a weird area that we're in, and the time left we have left. How much of an asset are we really giving up? Figure out how much you're amortizing over the next year. Maybe we're giving up if I look at the initial cost, what it cost us, we amortize over 10 years, that's $1,300 a year, so we're really losing an asset, $1,300.
Yeah, I think it's beyond the amortizing concept of giving something.
I agree with you, John, but this is different than a grader. This is different than a piece of equipment. And everybody knows what I'm talking about. And I know a number of the folks that have been extremely proud of Zeke and past officer and Clay and all of those things. As a longtime animal owner, I don't think it's fair to Zeke to do a third time. If it was a third time and he was 5 years old, I'd be the first one saying, no, he's still one of our officers. At this point, again, he'd be 8.5, 8 3/4 years old. As a trial basis with another police officer, maybe not. You want to do that, you don't want to do that. I think it's a lot of that.
I think
That's my thought.
Need to have the handler, an interested, capable handler in place first, and then I would love to continue, regardless of this decision, and Zeke, well beyond Zeke's life, working on continue the program when we do have that. I think Matt and I have touched on that. We explored potential couple routes that we could pretty easily get some funding needed for another dog in the future and training. So I would love to continue that just as kind of the side in the future of the program.
But we got to find the person to do it too.
Right.
We got to find a handler. We got to find an officer.
Would you be interested in seeing if there is anybody interested inside the local police department, or is that not something you care about?
I've asked as a citizen. I haven't heard any interest whatsoever. That's why I'm going the way I'm decided to have the conversation.
Sure.
This decision calls for Solomon-like wisdom, and I am not Solomon. I hear and understand, I think, all the perspectives. I don't find fundamental flaws with what John is saying or with what Christine and Alan are saying. I feel like this is an area where we need to have a policy to guide the decision-making process in the future. It won't help us today. One way that we could think about approaching it in a policy in the future is we predetermine the expected useful service time of a dog, and if there's a request to retire the dog before that period has expired, we would allow the dog's remaining service life to be bought out. And if somebody wants to do that when the dog is 2 to 3 years old, it would be a larger value. If they're closer to the retirement age, it would be a lower value. If we can't find a replacement officer for the dog, maybe there's a discharge policy that we could adopt that would allow us to look back at past handlers if they wanted to opt in to take the dog's retirement, to deal with what do we do with the dog who can no longer serve and there's nobody interested in maintenance.
It's not a bad idea to look at in the future. I agree. I've actually started drafting, just making some notes on some How long does he stay in a kennel between us for those technology inspector?
Which is several months, so I think it would have been, if you remember, June or July that we went to. Yeah. So approximately 6 months, but we did spend a couple of those months getting done as well before they started training together. So it was between Clifford and John for about a 6 month period.
6 months, okay, so now let's say a month or two. So the kennel dog up to 1 month release. Isn't really anything to do with any dog. That's fair.
It wasn't good.
And I did get a lot of comments from the community when we first met her on that. It did make sense to me at that point, but now that I went further on that.
I think that's why we have a different recommendation from the
Right.
different time. Situation. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but for a dog, that's really good. That's good. Any other thoughts on that or questions? Otherwise,
This is kind of us, guys.
yeah, we can't move back and forth outside of the public outside of that. Yeah, I did for Northwood speak to a couple of the original donors. I got the program started and they both understood and that this was a possibility and even offered to help out in the future if that's something we're needing or interested in, and conversations went really well. And expressed how appreciative we are to get this program started, and I don't think we would know how valuable this position was had it not gotten started in the community and not stepped up and pushed us to do that. So,
Can I ask a timing
Yeah.
question?
Sure.
How long would it be until, when are you leaving? So, if we found a new person tomorrow, until they're actually, what is the shortest amount of time? Because the training sessions aren't even open yet, right?
The first available training would start on March 25th. It would go, it would be really dependent on when the training, but about 8 to 10 weeks from March 25th would be something graduation, so if you figure roughly 3 months, under 3 months from March. They would graduate.
So,
A month.
So I'm going to, your information of, that you spoke to the main donors, and your information that I'm gonna assume that the donors will be okay.
I'll make a motion.
And I'm gonna assume that there's nobody interested in the police department, because you spoke to everybody.
And like I said, I'd make a motion.
Those were my concerns.
I'll make a motion that we retire Z to the handler. Or in here it was suggested $1. If somebody thinks that it's more than $1 to make this transition and such, I will burden the difference in the money. If somebody wants to put a value on this.
Can I make a friendly amendment on that, just
Yep.
to have it be subject to having the city attorney draft a sale and indemnification agreement, and we can get the letter, and making this agreement subsequent to
Thank you.
resignation.
Indemnifying the city against potential damages.
It's recommended in these
Yeah,
types of
totally get it,
situations
yeah.
where if the dog bit someone, that the city then wouldn't be liable for that. Not that I think we would do that in front of them, but,
I'm fine with those added comments.
Okay, do we have a
And again,
second?
if there's a value more than $1, if we need to write that in the legal side of things, I will pay that money if it's more than.
So that was going to example of what some cities do. Part of their consideration is making sure that the canine ends up in an appropriate home with that high drive and high skill or appropriate to adopt their home. So that's why some cities do that. Certainly, they don't want to be at their discretion.
You're not gonna move to some apartment in town, are you?
Are you gonna keep Brooklyn's Park's crime in Brooklyn Park and not in Corcoran?
Well, you won't be able to.
It's a lot of
But
promises,
you'll be
man.
there, right? So,
As
as long as you promise to keep Brooklyn's Park's promises in Brooklyn Park.
We did have a motion. Michelle, did you get that motion?
I did.
I'll second it for $1.
Second. Okay, perfect.
Chase people east.
Any further discussion?
I think we should make it $2 so that Dean has
We'll
to
spend
contribute.
$5,000 in attorney's fees to
Let's
get that
make it
down.
100 and I'll throw 99.
It can be that could just be a donation you do separately.
Yep, I'll do a donation separate.
So we have motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Will you bring them back to visit sometime? We'd love to have them for, if you're
I'm not
working
letting
on
go.
country days or
If
something.
something goes wrong, we will consider you coming back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah.
Your
Appreciate it.
career plans change, you're always welcome here.
Appreciate it, Officer Decker. Thank you, other family members also. You guys are a big part of this too.
Okay. Then we just have 10D, which is authorization to disperse claims, since we have a little bit of an odd schedule here the last month or so of the year. So does anyone want to make a motion, or I'll entertain a motion to authorize staff to process claims once between November 20th and December 18th, and once between December 18th and January 11th. I'll make a motion. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Staff reports, we have this project, coming planting project in the packet. And then we have a closed session before we get in here. Just give me a moment. Under the authority of Minnesota Statute 13D.05 Subdivision 3B, the city is permitted to close a meeting as permitted by the attorney-client privilege. The city council is going into closed session to discuss labor negotiations. The need for confidentiality in this matter exceeds the public's right to know.